our final topic of the day is that Charlie Cox is in New York City, and he is shooting Daredevil Born Again since they are starting production. Derek, you are a huge Daredevil fan.
Yes, I am.
How does this make you feel? Because I know there's a lot of feelings out there right now. There's a lot of questions out there, especially after Bob Iger took back over with this new series of how is the violence going to be? Is it going to be TVMA? What? There's so many questions. So how are you feeling?
The one thing I will say for Bob Chapek, who is no longer in charge of Disney, is that, and I applaud him for this, a lot of people got really, really pissed. But he decided it was a good idea once they got the rights, the streaming rights for the Netflix Daredevil series, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Punisher, Defenders, that instead of putting them on Hulu, which they did in Canada, we're going to put it on Disney Plus, and we're going to put it behind a security wall where kids can't get to it. You have to enable a certain setting in your own personal settings. And I thought that was a great move. They did the same thing for the Deadpool movies. How many adult Marvel fans don't want that content on their Disney Plus streaming service? You're paying for that content. You're paying for the content. You're just not watching it if you haven't enabled it. But I digress. Bob Iger, on the other hand, said when Disney Plus launched that he did not like R-rated content being on Disney Plus. He did not like that idea and thought that Disney Plus was a family streaming service.
He basically wanted you to be able to give your kid the Roku remote and they can search through anything and not find anything that's inappropriate for them.
Right. And Daredevil, Punisher, even Defenders, Jessica Jones is very much TVMA.
Yes.
And it is one of the most appealing things about those shows is that, you know, not only did it feel like it was a little bit bigger budget than some of the other comic book shows that have came before.
But it felt adult.
But it felt more adult themed. It felt more grounded. It felt darker, gritty, very noir themed, especially with Daredevil. And there was a lot of blood, a lot of violence. With Bob Iger, who doesn't like blood, who doesn't like violence, is probably not the world's biggest fan of the Netflix Daredevil series.
Right, and sexual content and all this other shit that comes with it. Drug use, alcohol, all that kind of
100%.
stuff.
And Kevin Feige has said multiple times, Charlie Cox, who plays Daredevil, Vincent D'Onofrio, have all hinted for basically, a year, 2 years now, that these are going to be a different version of the characters we've seen before. They haven't came out and said, yes, this is a reboot, but that some things are going to be the same, some things are going to be a little bit of a retelling, and they constantly compare it to the comics themselves, where a new writer comes on and they do their own slightly different version. Maybe they retell part of the origin story and change certain things, but a lot of it is the same. I don't think he's going to be as comedic and lighthearted as he was in She-Hulk. I think all it's going to take is one poster revealed with him wearing a black Daredevil suit or a red Daredevil suit. And a lot of us Daredevil fans are going to feel a little more at ease, thinking that, hey, maybe they are going to go for a little bit more of a grounded tone, for a little bit darker, grittier tone, even if it's not as darker or gritty as the Netflix series. I'll still be happy about it.
Like, as long as it's like a middle ground.
Somewhere in the middle, I'm okay with. I'm all right with Daredevil having a few comedic jokes here and there. He did in the Netflix series.
Didn't he in the comics too?
And of course he did for decades. And so I'm not one of those fans that just like anytime Daredevil smiles, I shake my head. But I do not want him turning into another version of Spider-Man, even though
Deadpool.
he was or Deadpool. I am excited for this series to get underway and to be able to actually finally watch this series. It seems like forever that we heard Charlie Cox was coming back as Daredevil. The tone is what's going to set the expectation level and the excitement level for a lot of us, I think. I might be alone in that, but Daredevil Born Again is one of the few Marvel Disney Plus series I am looking forward to. I've not been a big fan of a lot of the ones they've put out, but I am still really excited and looking forward to it because it is Charlie Cox, it is Vincent D'Onofrio. Some of the writers they've got on board is leaving me very hesitant. Some of the direction of the tone leaves me a little worried. But as Obi-Wan Kenobi said, I am cautiously optimistic.
You know, and I think that's a good way to be, because you don't want to put too many expectations forward, good or bad, because that could soil it for you either way. So I think it is good to try to go in with like cautious optimism. And I personally, I did watch most of the Daredevil show with you. I haven't seen all of it all the way through, but I did enjoy what I did see, and I loved the character development, the complexity of it. It felt like a real world with real people that actually were interacting with one another. There were stakes, and they did a really good job amping it up each season. So I think with this new show, it's got some pretty big shoes to fill, but if they just get a different pair of shoes and don't try to fill the other ones, I think that'll be the best route they can go.
Do something different as opposed to outdoing what's been done before.
Right, exactly. Do their own take on it, and I think that is what Kevin Feige is trying to go for. I think he knows, like, if I try to do this same tone, it's not going to feel right in the MCU, and it's also not going to fit his vision. So I'm just hoping that it fits in well with the rest of the MCU without feeling too, like, I always say, like, Marvel flavored, like, too all the same.
Right.
Like, you want it to feel just a little bit different. And, you know, hopefully it has a little bit of a Deadpool feel, but not too much either. You know, a little bit grittier, because I'd say Deadpool is funny, but also kind of grittier. So hopefully more of that gritty feeling, a little bit of that funny, somewhere in the middle. So we'll see where they go with it. But what do you guys think? Are you excited to see the new Daredevil Born Again show? What are you looking forward to most in the MCU slate that we have going forward? Let us know down in the comments below. And that